Welcome to episode 11 of Learning Fusion. In today's episode, we're going to be covering the nodes editor area within Fusion. So let's roll this intro and let's jump into it.
We're learning Fusion together. We'll learn 2D stuff and 3D stuff and particle stuff and compositing stuff, deep pixel stuff and tracking stuff, but not other stuff, but some other cool stuff, because we're learning Fusion together.
So the nodes editor area within Fusion is this whole area right in here. And this is where we do all of our work within Fusion. And before we jump into this area, if we go up top of our little nodes editor, we've got this little add, manage, and go to bookmarks area. And what this is for is if we have a huge node tree going on. So let's go ahead and grab some footage. And let's say we've got a giant node tree going on here. And I know this is just two nodes, but we're going to pretend this is a huge node tree. And this could be a little confusing to navigate around in, so we can create bookmarks. So if we select this, we can add a bookmark. And what it's doing is it's creating a bookmark of where we are within our node tree. So I can add a bookmark there. If I go way over to our end, and I add a bookmark, we can go here and we can select between our two little bookmarks we made. So I can go to bookmark 2 and it'll pop us in that view. Bookmark 3, it'll pop us in that view. Additionally, I can go to my go to bookmarks. So if I select go to, it'll have a little additional menu for us to select what bookmark we want to go to. So if I want to go to bookmark 2, I just hit go and I'm at that bookmark. Additionally, I can go to manage bookmarks, and here we can manage them. We can remove them or we can rename them. So if I wanted to rename that bookmark, I could. If I want to remove this one, I could. So let's go ahead and remove both those bookmarks. And let's fix our little node tree. But while we're here, we've got this little navigator right here. So what this navigator is doing is it's showing our overall tree. So it's just letting us know, hey, we've got other nodes way over here. So I could, in my navigator, just navigate to that node or navigate to this node just by clicking and dragging that little box in that navigator. And if I want to show or hide this navigator, I could simply right click, go to my options and select show navigator. So if I uncheck that, it's going to hide it. If I right click, options, show navigator, it's going to bring it back up. Additionally, I can just hit my V button and it'll turn it on and off. And that's your V on your keyboard. I can also right click and go to my options and select auto navigator. And our auto navigator is going to show if we have any nodes outside our little node editor area. So if I zoom out, and I can zoom out by hitting my control button and using my mouse wheel, I can also click my middle mouse button and drag node tree around. So I can grab this node, bring it in. And if you notice, our navigator is gone because we've got all of our nodes in our node tree visible. But if I zoom in, and as soon as I get one of them out, it's going to pop up to say, hey, you've got some nodes off of your little node editor area. And as far as moving around, like I said, we can middle mouse and we can click and drag with that middle mouse. We can drag it around. If I hit control and use my little mouse wheel, I can zoom in and out. I can also hit my plus and minus keys to zoom in and out. And if I hold my left mouse with my middle mouse button, it's going to allow me to zoom in and out. Or again, like I said, we can hit that control and use that middle mouse wheel to zoom in and out. And if I right click anywhere within our little area here, we're going to get some submenus. And the right click on the nodes is going to be different depending on what kind of nodes we're actually selected on. But if we right click back here, our options are always going to be the same. So if I right click, I can add a tool. We went over this the other day when we went over adding nodes, so I can add whatever node I want. Under the scale options, I can change the scale of our little node editor area. So I can select scale to fit. I can select a specific number. I can select default scale. And I can also use this zoom in and out if I want. Under our options, we have multiple options here. So under pipes always visible, right now, let's go ahead and add another node here. If I drag this around, you notice our little line here is hidden behind our node. But if I right click and select pipes always visible, that means our pipes are going to be on top of nodes, no matter how we move it around. It'll be always visible. I can show hidden pipes. So some nodes do have hidden pipes, or if we have different things going on with different nodes, when we're using things like modifiers or different things, we'll have other little pipes going on. And this just gives you the option to show or hide any hidden pipes. Under our aspect correction right here for our tile pictures, first we got to have our tile pictures visible. So one option, not under our options, but on our little menu system here, we can force active tile pictures. And what that means is whatever I'm clicked on is going to force that tile picture. And if you notice, there's a little tile picture. And some of them aren't going to show up. So this should be showing our little media thumbnail, but I haven't played it or anything. So I got to stick it in display and hit the play button and it'll populate our little thumbnail down there. But if I right click, we've got force active tile pictures. So whatever one I'm selected on, it's going to force a tile picture. And if I'm not selecting anything, we won't have any tile pictures. So under our options, when we have this aspect correct tile pictures, right now it's showing the correct aspect of our footage there. But if I go to options and uncheck that, it's going to just fill up our entire tile picture with our footage. Or I can select this aspect correct tile pictures, so it'll show the correct aspect ratio with our footage. I can also show the grid, so that grid that's in our little node editor area. I can show our instance. So we went over instances the other day. So if I Control C and right click and paste an instance, we get this little green line for an instance node. And if I want to hide that, I can just simply go to my options, select this show instance, and it's going to hide it. Or I can reselect it to show them again. Under our auto remove routers, if we have any routers, and we'll cover this when we go over flow control, but if we had, say, another node here and I had it connected and I wanted a little elbow router in there, I could hit my Alt and just click on the line and it gives me a little router there. So by default, if I delete this node, our router is going to stay. But if I select under our options, auto remove routers, anything that's deleted from our input or our output is automatically going to delete this router. So if I was to delete this color correct, our router is automatically deleted as well. Then of course, this was our show navigator, our little navigator that's over here. And our auto navigator. Right here under build flow horizontally or vertically, we can change whether our little inputs are horizontal or vertical. So even when we're in vertical setup, we can change that. So I can right click, options. I can build our flow vertically. So now you notice our main nodes are on the top, but just know this really doesn't change how anything connects. So if I move this around, you can see it's still automatically kind of moving that node. But having it selected on build flow vertically makes more sense when we are in a vertical workflow. So if you remember right, when we went over this workspace, we can go here and we can change our preset to mid flow, say vertical. So now our node tree is in a vertical workflow. And this is where this really comes in handy. But even in this workflow, I can right click, go to options, and I could build my flow horizontally if I want. And if you notice, our little inputs are on the sides again. And let's go here and uncheck this force active tile picture. Under our arrange tools right here, we can arrange to a grid. So if I select to grid, it's going to pop to grid locations. So if you notice, our node is kind of popping to that grid. I can also have it to connected, which means it's going to automatically pop when it gets in line with a connected node. So when it gets in line with our little color, you can see it kind of popping, and it works vertically and horizontally as well. And down here, we can just auto arrange. And what this means is if I uncheck this, let's bring this in really close, and let me go ahead and add another node. So let's add a curves node here. You notice it just popped kind of on top of it. It's just going wherever you tell it to go. But if I get rid of that and turn on our auto arrange and I add one, it's automatically going to move everything out of the way. So you notice it just moved everything to fit. And if it's still super close and I say add a blur node, it's just going to move everything so it makes room. This selection will just let us line up all tools to the grid. So we'll just line them. So if they're all at weird random places, if I select it, line up to the grid, it's going to line each one of them up to the grid. Under our find, this is just a good way to find nodes. So if we have a huge giant tree going on and we're trying to find a specific node, instead of moving around looking for it, trying to find it, we can just right click and select find, or we can hit Control F to bring this window up. And once we do, we just type in what we're looking for, and it's your typical find parameters here, just like any other program. We can find next or find whatever we need to find, and it'll highlight that node. We'll cover this edit macro when we go over macros. I've already covered this force tile picture. We can also force source tile pictures. So if I want to force all my source tile pictures, I can select that. So anything that's actual source is going to have its tile picture. So if I bring in something like a background or a text, anything that's an actual source is going to have an actual tile picture, whereas anything else is just going to be a regular node. So if I shut that off, you can see they all go back to normal nodes. And I can do the same with my mask node, so I can force mask tile pictures. So anytime I bring something in like a mask, it's going to have a tile picture, and my other nodes will still have normal node sizing. In addition, we can force all tile pictures. So if we select force all tile pictures, we're going to get tile pictures on everything. For our show modes options, this means anything that's got a mode or option on it, we can view it. So on our color correct, if I was to cache to disk, you notice we get this little icon. But if I was to uncheck this show modes options, our icon disappears. But if I want to see that icon, I can select that and our icon's back. Same with this show thumbnails. If I uncheck this and let's go back to force our source tile pictures, it's just going to show our default little icon there for our media. But if I was to check show thumbnail, it's actually going to show a thumbnail of our footage or whatever media we have in there. And then our paste in our paste instance is the same thing that we went over the other day when we covered our paste in our pasting instances. Now, if I was to right click on an actual node, like I said, these options are going to be a little different depending on what type of node we are right clicking on. Some may have more, some may have less. But in general, if I right click on a node itself, we have this view on. So what this view on is going to do is let us select what viewer it's going to be on. So if I bring up 2, I can select this view on my left. And let's go ahead and make a correction here. I can right click here, view on my right. So that's what the view on does. The create/play preview on will let you preview on the left, right, or a file sequence. And we're going to skip this file sequence, and mainly you're going to use it in the left and the right view. So if I select left view, it's automatically going to generate a preview of that file. You notice this one isn't playing. And if I go play our little sequence back, you notice this one isn't playing because we just created a preview of our media in on this view. And if I wanted to preview it, we have controls. If I right click on that preview, that's what these controls are for right here. So I can select play, and it's going to play that preview. And you notice it's not actually playing our timeline, just playing a preview of that. And I have the option to loop it, ping pong it, watch it in full screen, or update it if I made any changes. Just be careful with this full screen. If you have a large screen monitor like mine, it'll kind of make it a little crazy. And to get that back into our normal view is a little difficult. And if you're having troubles, just keep hitting your 1 and 2 buttons, and eventually it'll pop back into your default fusion mode. You can also double click to play and stop the footage. And if you want to get rid of that little preview, all you have to do is hit your 1 button, and now you're back in regular timeline preview mode, or your 2 button. So depending on where your footage is. Under that, we have all the cut, copy, and paste and delete options that we covered the other day. However, we didn't go over this paste settings. And all paste settings is if I go to our color correct, we've got all these settings here. So if I make all of our changes and do some weird, crazy stuff, if I hit Control C and just copy that node, or right click and hit copy, and let's get another color node here. If I go to this color node, I can right click and select paste settings. Now you notice all of our settings from this node we copied are pasted to this node. Under that, we have the insert and replace tools that we covered the other day. The find is the same as we covered before. We would cover this group option when we go over flow controls. Same with macro. We're going to cover this when we go over macros. Right here under the select, we covered this the other day. We can select our upstream or downstream nodes. We can show our tile pictures or hide them. Just know this is going to be overridden by our other menu. So if I right click and I keep hitting show tile menus, you notice nothing is changing. That's because on our right click here, these settings are overriding that. So if I uncheck this force tile picture and go to show, I can uncheck and check to view that tile picture. And same goes with our show modes and options. We can show them or hide them. But again, if we right click on our general little editor area right here, this show modes option is going to override that option. And then under our swap inputs, we covered that the other day. So if we had say a merge node with a few different things going in, if I right click, I can select this swap inputs, and it's going to swap our background and foreground. Under edit splines, this is for editing our animation. So if I select edit splines, our little spline editor is going to pop up, and we will cover this in a different episode. Same with our edit controls. When we get in more advanced stuff, we will go over this edit controls area. Here we can rename our node. So if I wanted to rename, I can select that, or I can hit F2. I can rename this to say shot _01. And I say underscore because you can't have spaces in any names here. So if you have a space, it's automatically just going to delete that space. So shot 01. Our de-instance we covered the other day. So if we had an instance node, we can de-instance it. Same with our cache. When we went over the Fusion RAM cache, we covered cache to disk options. Right here, we can set our color. So if I want to change our color, I can go here and change it to, say, a nice violet. So now our little node under there is change colors. Now, a lot of these options that I'm about to go over here, these set color and the modes and all that stuff, is the same thing that's up here. So up here, you notice it changed our little color to violet. I can just select this right here. And if I want it to be navy, I select navy. Now our little node is navy. Under our modes, I can select to show controls, and that's these controls right here. So if I uncheck this, you notice we just lost all of our controls right here. But don't fret, this is not permanent. So if I select a couple nodes and I go back, all of our controls are right back to normal. Even though if we go to modes, show controls, it's just going to automatically recheck itself and turn it back on. Our pass through right here, if we check and uncheck that, that's the same as turning it on and off up here in our little inspector area. So that's passing through or not passing through. And our locked is the same as our locked. So if I select locked, now it's locked and we can't make any changes. And that's the same as selecting our lock up here in our inspector. So we can select it up here as well. For our update, this just determines whether it's going to update when we make changes or not. So for instance, if I go to our little color page right here, and we look at our color page, as I'm making changes, it's changing. And it's pretty fast because it's just a color node. But some nodes are going to do a lot of re-rendering with every single little change. It'll start getting locked up and you'll see it takes a while for changes to take effect. That's because it's updating. So if I go to, say, frame 12, make a change, you notice it's re-updating that little frame. But if I go here, select modes and uncheck update, you notice our little render area is changed. It's all solid green. It's basically because it's locked in its last full render. Now, if I go through here, I can make tons of changes, do whatever I want on the fly, and it's not going to be RAM caching or anything. So I can make all my changes. And if I push play, you notice it's locked because we're not updating anything. But as soon as I go here, go to modes, select update, it's going to re-update itself and start recaching all of those frames. And under modes, this force cache is just going to make whatever node I force a cache on a priority when it comes to caching. I mean, if I check it, it's always going to cache that node no matter what. You notice we get a little star there, meaning it's our favorite cache. So it's always going to cache that node no matter what. And it's going to take priority. So let's uncheck that. Under our set render, this isn't necessarily to set a render range, even though it says set render range. What this means is if we did change our render range, and now we're playing back, you notice we just changed our little render range. We went over this when we went over our time ruler, how to change that. We can minimize it, change it however we want. If I right click here and I set render range, it's going to set it back to its original Fusion clip size render range. So set render range, you just notice it set our end render range back to the end of our Fusion clip. And under our settings, this is where we can load or save any settings we have. So if we have a nice color correct that we created and we want to save it, we can right click, go to settings and select save as, and we can save it as whatever we want. And then later down the line, if we have a color corrector back open, like a nice brand new one, we can right click, go to settings and load that back in. Same with all our settings options. We can load our default, save it as a default, or we can reset our defaults and it's just going to reset that node. And then under scripts right here, we will cover this when we go over some scripting stuff. We're really not going to cover a lot, but we'll cover a little bit and I'll just talk about it in one episode, but this will be a more advanced episode towards the end of our little course here. The only thing I believe I missed is you notice our little lines right here are just straight directly connected to our node. We can change that if we right click, go to options, right down here we have direct pipes selected, but if I select orthogonal pipes, you notice we get these little orthogonal pipes that are kind of squared off and moved in random places along our little grid. I can go back here, options, and I can change that back to direct pipes if I want. So that is the node editor area. In the next episode, we're going to be covering flow control so we can keep our nodes nice and neat when we start really learning Fusion and learning how to use these nodes. So I'll see you in the next episode.